you like violence? Do you like chaos? Do you like mystery? Then boy, do I have the game for you.
Released from Early Access on November 11th, 2024, Dungeons of Blood and Dream is a low-poly, first-person roguelike dungeon crawler set within a procedurally generated world known as The Dream, a mind prison where you play as a demi-human sorcerer who previously gained considerable magical aptitude and was thus punished for daring to think yourself equal to this world's gods, the true humans. Within The Dream, your only goal, your only purpose, is to find the name of your captor and escape. But to do so, you must face the horrors of the dream's many floors, be they slimes, wizards, or demons, and discover through this delving its secrets, lest you be trapped forever. But fear not. With broken blade and magic in hand, you can face the dark and perhaps escape into the light. Poetic waxing aside, this game rules. Beginning with a rather disturbing monologue detailing more or less what I've just described to you, Dungeons of Blood and Dream, after the title screen, opens in an unusual fashion, with a small on-screen player manual detailing some of the world's background lore and, more importantly, its mechanics. Here you will learn your basic movement and attack controls, as well as the magic ring and hand or eye system. Since combat and movement are simple enough besides guard, which acts as a sort of passive blocking based on which direction your sword is facing, I never really figured this one out. Let's jump to those latter three mechanics for the sake of this review. Spells are performed by combining 4 magical sigils, those being a sun, a crescent moon, a goblet, and an eye, in combinations of 4, with each sigil costing a portion of your life force to cast, depending on a number of factors from what rings you have equipped to what upgrades you've purchased. We will discuss those upgrades more in a bit, but sigils once cast become locked at the top of the screen, and so far as I could tell could not be removed once locked. However, you can erase them by just casting the correct order and a spell, essentially. These locked sigils carry over between floors, which also works nicely if you want to have a spell almost set to go off, and then jump into a room and set it off at a key moment. To perform a spell, you need to know its order of implementation, or the spell itself, which you can find within these blood-filled birdbath looking things. One of the many centerpieces within the game you can interact with. Once you find a spell combination, you can open your journal and write, in blood of course, some sort of reminder for yourself so you can reference these spells later. But be warned, not all spells are equal or useful. It'll be up to you to determine and figure out which ones are. Potions, which drop upon killing enemies alongside things like coins, which you use to purchase goods, flesh, which you use to heal, and a few other things we'll talk about later, work similarly to magic, with some potions giving you positives like more vitality or a chance to light enemies on fire, and others decreasing your movement speed or making you ill, meaning they lower your overall health. You can write down useful potion combinations if you like, although your little guy on the bottom left, I call him the helper, will occasionally let you know what some of them do if you've come across them before. As an aside, I love these UI characters. They have a mechanical function as well as just being cool. Their faces will change depending on how buffed their respective attributes are. I believe the top one is your health, the middle one is your magic, and the bottom one is your strength. I wasn't quite sure, the game actually never explains this, but they're quite funny. They give occasional advice and just opinions about the world in general, usually regarding rings. If you're wondering why the bottom one is empty, or there's a prison that doesn't have anything in it, this is the hint minion, and I had them turned off for most of my playthrough. Rings, which drop like potions from enemies and bosses, have a myriad of effects based not only on what the ring is, but what finger you put it on. Rings function as your temporary upgrade system within your current run, with each granting abilities or debuffs. After equipping a ring, you will find one of its many potential uses, which you will remember in later runs. Rings cannot be removed, but can be overwritten by placing another ring on the same finger. Rings, like most things, will carry over to the next level provided you don't die, but you will lose them upon death. By default, the eye on your hand gives you temporary invulnerability when used. You can find other powers for it throughout your runs, which you can equip from the hub area we will discuss shortly. It's important to note you can only have one power equipped at a time, and the game will not tell you what the different eyes do beforehand, which is sort of a running theme, and probably my biggest complaint about the game as a whole, as there was a surprising amount of information obscured for the sake of artificial difficulty, which I found kind of annoying. Additionally, these powers can only be used when the eye is open on your hand, with a recharge rate for each depending on different parameters from time to enemies killed. Beyond what we've already discussed, some enemies will drop these large purple orbs known as dream spheres, which are your currency for permanent upgrades and used as these idols in the hub area, the area you go upon death or waking. By offering these spheres to one of the 5 idols, you are given permanent buffs to your character, be it repairing your broken sword, to decreasing health loss when casting sigils, or increasing attack power. While the frequency of these drops is random, bosses seem to almost always drop drop one sphere along with one of these notes, which give you hints about the name of your mysterious jailer. Lastly, enemies can also drop these brains, which will give you something called concepts that you can discuss with the world's various NPCs or yourself via this mirror, and unlock the potential for new items or levels to spawn throughout the dream. As an aside, it felt like the level layouts got more complicated after I found a few of these concepts and discussed them with the various NPCs, which I found pretty cool because it can get kind of boring and tedious to replay the first dungeon over and over again without this. With that preamble out of the way, let's get into the game proper. When loading into a run for the first time, you will always start on the dungeon floor, the first of the 4 main floors of the game. To progress to another floor, you must either find the boss room, which will be shown on your map in red, and defeat that level's boss, or you have to find one of these secret room teleporters, which will take you to one of the various secret levels, such as the frog world. Regardless of where you go, it does seem that each subsequent floor becomes more complex and dangerous, with some of the secret ones in particular being especially brutal. Since levels are procedural, there's no way of telling what will spawn where, and that goes for NPCs too, with some only spawning in certain rooms and levels like this frog wizard in the underground. Therefore, I recommend exploring as much as possible, but be warned. Once you enter a room of enemies, you must defeat everyone in the room or die. That's the only way out. But not every room will have enemies, and each level will have special rooms like the merchant or treasure room, which will give you some help and respite from the horrors of the dream. Some rooms and hallways are hidden behind doors that require keys or behind hidden walls, which could be found throughout the various rooms. It's worth noting that Dungeons is quite a cruel game, as many of the keys that unlock certain locks will look almost identical in color, and inserting the wrong key into a lock will result in you taking a spike directly to the chest, which is pretty harsh, and can lead to the end of an otherwise good run. Speaking of ends, upon dying, which you will do often as you navigate the dream, players will be given a game over screen showing them the rings, items, and stats of their run, and the option to go to the hub world called Waking or to start the dream over back at the dungeon. The hub is where you can spend your dream spheres, enter the slowly unraveling name of your jailer, talk to yourself in this magical mirror, enable hints, or equip new eyes onto your hand. Although everything I've just said may feel complicated at the onset, it certainly did when looking at the manual for the first time, the game's mechanics have a way of comfortably coming into focus as you become accustomed to the wacky colors, enemies, and layouts of the world at large. The design work is admittedly simple, yet so uniquely its own at the same time. I absolutely loved it. The music too is a huge plus, as I felt it set the tone of each area perfectly and gives this sort of scrungly frog rave core in my opinion.
Here are some examples.
As a roguelike, I feel this game is better experience for yourself, and I have therefore intentionally omitted showing you too much that would be considered spoilers throughout the duration of this video, although I think if you've made it this far in the video, you probably already know if you'd want to play the game or not. It's a game you can easily load up and lose yourself in for an hour or two, and feel like you've made some progress while leaving you more to explore without being overly bloated. Roguelikes can occasionally feel overlong in my opinion, but I could see someone sinking a good 20 hours into the game and having explored pretty much all of it, or enough to leave it satisfied. At least I know I would. For $18.99 US, you could do a whole lot worse, and honestly for how much fun I've had with it, I think it's a good price. It's also out of early access now, so you're getting a full game, so you don't have to worry about waiting for it to update in years or whatever. If you like weird looking games, dungeon crawlers, or just roguelikes in general, then you absolutely do not want to miss this one. And that is going to be it from me. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I highly recommend the game, and I want to thank my channel members for their support. In particular, I want to thank my Paladin tier members. Those are Dwayne the Rock Lobster, Valadar, Dunyal, Zorluigi, Candriff, Lackland, Shadow King, and Drakon. You guys are awesome. If you'd like to become a member, a Paladin, or otherwise, you can do so through the membership tab on my page. But of course, you don't have to. If you like, comment, subscribe, even if you just watch it, that works for me too. But that's going to be it for me. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Soul. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will happily see you in the next one.